Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's public information meeting on wildfires in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. My name is Andrew Roblin, and I am the Information Officer with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's in Emergency Operations Center here in Kamloops. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge that we connect with many First Nation communities across our vast regional district, and today are located on the Kamloops to Secwepemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have and respect the territory and land on which we are meeting from today. A recorded version of this meeting will be available to stream on demand on our website, tnrd.ca, as well as our YouTube channel. All attendees joining us today will be muted to allow our presenters to speak on the current wildfire situation in the region so that we respect their time. There will be no live question and answer period, but attendees are encouraged to submit any questions through our website, tnrd.ca, and we'll address those in future meetings. To get started, we will hear from BC Wildfire Service with some updates on some of the major fires happening within the Kamloops Fire Center.
Hi there, my name is Forrest Tower. I'm the Fire Information Officer, currently working on the Sparks Lake Complex. So I will give a brief update. Obviously, there's a lot of fires going on, so I'll keep it somewhat short. And again, just advise people to check the Wildfire of Note page for each respective fire. That's where you're going to find the most current information for each of these fires. So I'll start off with Embleton Mountain. So that is a fire near Sun Peaks. It is looking very stable. We haven't had any significant fire activity or growth in the last few days. It's currently, as people may or may not be aware, that orders and alerts have sort of changed in the last few days around that fire as conditions remain quite stable, and we're able to put that recommendation in. So the fire is really, as of this moment, again, I'll always have the caveat that wildfires are dynamic and things can change, but at the moment, it is looking like we're able to keep the fire within its existing containment and control lines. So we do have unit crew and contract crews still working on that. It's going to be, a fire for quite a while. It's a large fire, but they're really in the mop-up patrol phase, just looking for hotspots and making sure that those western and sort of southern eastern flanks where there is community in and around those areas are obviously extinguished, with the end goal being 50 to 100 feet extinguishment from the fire perimeter within. So that'll be Embleton. We'll just move right along here. So with Sparks Lake, the obviously larger fire north of Kamloops, it is somewhat active still on the northeastern side of the fire. If anyone has seen the kind of current perimeter maps, there's sort of a finger that we call it coming off that northeastern part of the fire. It's not growing any more east or towards the bottom part area. It's really just kind of getting fatter as it's the fire is just being active sort of in some timber, but not any movement sort of east or in any direction. And that's kind of going the same for pretty much the entire fire perimeter. It is still slowly, steadily kind of moving outwards, but it's no major growth really in any specific direction and no overall major growth. It is just kind of slowly burning. And we have crews sort of in any priority areas. Right now, they're focusing on the southern part of the fire. And so we have structure protection and firefighters working in and around all of the areas on the southern. And once that is secure, and if you've been following the Wildfire Note page, sort of the long-term goal is that as they can kind of get an anchor point on the bottom of the fire, they'll start moving up those flanks on the east and west side of the fire. And eventually, this is a large fire, so this is many, many weeks, if not months of work ahead, but eventually the goal being sort of pinching it off at the top as crews can safely work around the flanks of the fire. So again, the Wildfire Note page will have an updated fire perimeter. It is sitting at 56,211 hectares. So that was representative of kind of a few days of growth. So it hasn't grown 10,000 hectares in the last day or two. It's just that update has been with better mapping as the smoke cleared. Again, it's really smoky here, so getting updated perimeters is quite hard. Our fleet hasn't been able to fly or really see anything if they are flying for the complex for most of the day today, and similar to sort of end of day yesterday. So that's always a tricky situation, and I'm sure the other complexes are sort of in the same boat. So The final fire that I will give an update on is the Tremont Creek fire. So that's the fire near Ashcroft. So this fire has actually been quite stable as well for most of yesterday. There hasn't been any significant growth outside of the current perimeters. There was a spot fire on the southwestern flank near Barnes Lake. So about a 5-hectare spot fire that we had air tankers and helicopters and crews actioning yesterday. And so they were able to pretty much get it under control, that little spot fire yesterday. And then today, in my last meeting with the ops team, they said that they're looking at having sort of total containment of that spot fire today. And so they also do have pretty much the entire fire wrapped with a machine guard. So that was also an update that might not be on the Wildfire of Note page just because it is so new. I just came from another meeting to this call, so that will be on there shortly. But so the entire fire, other than a 2-kilometer section, which they will hope to finish today, has been wrapped in machine guard. And so then at this point, it's just looking at using small scale hand ignitions to remove any other fuels within the current fire perimeter to really secure those lines. And so that's what crews are focusing on right now, is just patrol, hotspot extinguishment. Right now, it's a bit tricky to get support with bucket ships, again, with just how smoky it is. But looking at the sort of forecast, we might have a bit of a break in the smoke, at least for the short term in the next few days. So that will always be used, of course, whenever possible. And so that's really what that fire is moving towards right now, is just trying to hold on to the fire within the current perimeter. And again, big caveat being wildfire dynamic, it's been really driven by winds and afternoon, daytime heating. We're having some cooler temperatures right now, so that's really helping crews out. But if that really changes, then we will probably be back to experiencing some of that heightened fire activity. So all of these fires by no means are, they're still large active wildfires and really driven by heat and wind. Fuel conditions are extremely dry. I'm sure it's going to be echoed throughout all of these calls that for the rest of the summer, as soon as we get into those hotter conditions, things can change very quickly. So I know that I've been getting a few questions about people wanting to go back into areas that are under order or, anxious about being under alert. And just to give, some of the information on why we would still have those areas under order, even though there may not be active wildfire. So specifically about the Sparks Lake wildfire, there are some areas under order where there may not be active wildfire at this time in and around that area, but there is still a lot of wildfire suppression activity happening. So that can be crews moving in trucks. We have heavy equipment working on all of the kind of roads that have been impacted. So that the Tranquille Creek Forest Service Road, that road is one of our main roads that we're getting crews in and out of. And so danger tree assessor followers are working with heavy equipment all along that road to make sure it's safe. So even though you may be looking at sort of satellite imagery or sort of our perimeter map and not seeing any hotspots, there is still a lot of activity going on in that area. And once a wildfire moves to that area, it still isn't safe until all of that sort of follow-up safety work has been done in terms of danger trees and making sure roads that were impacted are safe for public travel. And so again, I'll just really encourage people to be patient with our crews. Everyone across BC is working as hard as they can to get these things contained and people back in their homes. But there is a lot of work once these fires get to this size in terms of how many roads are impacted, et cetera. And so, it does take time and our crews are working tirelessly to get all of this kind of work done, but there's a lot of work ahead of us for this summer. So I'll leave it at that for the updates for those fires. I know that there was a previous team taking care of Tremont, and so it is now within the Sparks Lake complex. So the contact information has been updated on all of the Wildfire of Note pages, and it'll be me, Forrest Tower, Fire Information Officer for this complex until August 1st, and then I will have a replacement, and we kind of just keep going with our IMTs as long as needed. So just make sure to pay attention to either these calls or the Wildfire of Note page for the contact information for whatever fire you're looking for. So I'll leave it at that. I'll pass it to the other BCWS info or IC that's on this call, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Forrest. That was excellent. You're obviously quite busy with all those large fires, so we'll let you go. Do we have Hugh Murdoch? Was he able to make it to this call?
Yeah. I don't know if Hugh's on. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Just, yeah, if you do go out.
Yes, we can.
Gosh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm cutting in and out. Ooh. Oh shoot, I might have technical problems.
Yeah.
We can hear you just fine.
I can't hear you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
So, but that's why.
Okay, so I can't hear you, so I'll just, I don't know if anyone else is on from Wildfire, but from the fire center side of things, Forrest covered it quite well. I mean, the same thing he said as per all the fires within the Sparks incident is applicable to all the fires that are the other ones in the regional or in the Kamloops Fire Center, driven by terrain, dryness, and slope, soil, timber types. So we are continuing to triage all of our fires according to that. Again, the triaging around life, property, critical infrastructure, and resources. But we are taking advantage of these calmer winds, and we're really seeing not a lot of growth on any of our fires. The Lytton fire, we did see it we did have it jump Highway 8 last night, but we've got buckets on it all day trying to work on that spot, and we are continuing to work all our fires through equipment, heavy equipment, crews on the ground, and air.
That's great. Thank you for that update, particularly on the Lytton complex. We know here we had to issue some new orders and alerts around that over the last little while. So we know that's been a very active wildfire. So thank you for that update. And I understand if you need to leave the call now.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now, a few other matters. We had hoped to have the Village of Lytton's new Emergency Operations Center liaison, Jeff Becker, on. Just a comment around that. So the Village of Lytton has now set up their Emergency Operations Center. So any inquiry specific to the Village of Lytton is going to be handled through their Emergency Operations Center during the initial stages of evacuation. The TNRD handled a lot of that, but we are now passing that over to their emergency operations team to carry it through as they begin to discuss reentry plans and the future for the Village of Lytton. So hopefully on the next call, we'll be able to get Jeff on here. We do hope to have another call in about 3 days. We typically are doing these calls every 3 days. We'll do them more often if we see significant wildfire activity. Now I will do a bit of a overview on the current orders and alerts. Just give me a moment here to share my screen. Okay. So this is the emergency dashboard that you can access through our TNRD website. As you can see, there are currently 23 evacuation orders with an additional 29 alerts. Just for a bit of perspective, those 23 orders impacts a little over 1,000 addresses, and those 29 alerts actually impacts almost 4,000 address points. So that does include the alerts currently includes the villages of Ashcroft and Cache Creek. We have seen some recent changes. We were able to downgrade, I'll just zoom in here, around the Embleton Mountain Fire. With better suppression activities, we were able to downgraded the Heffley Lake area to an all clear. And we leave the Whitecroft area currently as an alert until advised by BC Wildfire Service about any possibility of removing that alert. That's definitely good to see. We did have to adjust some of the evacuation orders around the Young Lake. So Young Lake is up over here and just north, around here, which is just north of the Sparks Lake fire. They're being treated together as the Sparks Lake complex, but we did have to expand some of our evacuation orders to the north and to the west recently. The other fire I will comment on. Since our last meeting, we have had to put Spence's Bridge and Highway 8 on evacuation order, with further down Highway 8 almost into Lower Nicola on alert. So that's probably affecting the most residents recently, as we see significant growth along the Lytton complex fire. That's the overall for the alerts and orders that's changed since the last meeting. You can view those previous meetings on our website or on our YouTube for updates about some of the other fires. I don't want to ignore any fires, but we do have a lot of fires going through the region right now. Tremont is still there, but I believe Forrest gave a good update on that. At this time, we don't foresee any expansion of any orders through any of these areas, but it's an ever-evolving situation as weather and winds will dictate. So do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, as well as download that Voyant app, the Voyant Alert app, so that you can stay abreast of any changes to alerts or orders. The contact number for our Emergency Operations Center will be posted along with this video. If you have any questions, we're generally operating 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. And the changing needs, those hours could change as well. I do want to thank everyone who has signed up to the Voyant Alert system. We're finding it's been a very effective system, so I do encourage everyone to get that. You can find information on that on the TNRD.ca website. I want to address a few questions that we had come in through our website. You can submit questions. I'll stop sharing for now. You can submit those questions and we'll follow up with them at future meetings. There has been a few questions around re-entry to areas that are on evacuation order. I just want to be very clear that no person is allowed to enter an evacuation order area unless they have a pass issued by the TNRD. They are government officials, or they are a contractor directly working on firefighting efforts. So just because someone lives in the evacuation order area, that does not grant them permission to pass freely in and out of that area. If someone chooses to stay in an evacuation order area and then leaves while the order is still in place, they must have a pass to re-enter, so they will not be allowed to freely re-enter. Checkpoint staff do not have any authority to decide who should not enter. All of those passes have to come through the TNRD. So you can reach out to the TNRD EOC with specific questions around re-entry passes. We had another question come in regarding removal of fridges and freezers, particularly from the area north of Lytton, which has been downgraded to an evacuation alert. So we are seeing people go back into the area north of Lytton, including some Lytton First Nation folks. The TNRD is working on removing those fridges and freezers for both TNRD residents as well as Lytton First Nation residents. So that can all be coordinated through the TNRD. Please reach out to recycleright@tnrd.ca or call them at 250-377-2596. They're open Monday through Friday, and they'll help coordinate the removal of any fridges and freezers that are ready. We have a contractor that will collect and properly dispose of those. So just some general comments. We do have a highway closure along Highway 8 because of the increased wildfire activity there and just the need for wildfire suppression activities. So Highway 8 is closed to that wildfire area. I do encourage everyone to check Drive BC for any changes to that. We have seen Drive BC open up Highway 1, so you can pass through Highway 1, although personally I do recommend avoiding the area with the amount of wildfire suppression activity that is going on in there. If you do not need to be in that area, it is definitely advisable to avoid any of the active wildfire areas. That is the questions that we have for today. Please continue to use that question form on our website so that we can address these questions in future meetings. Again, I will provide the contact information for the EOC as well as the fridge and freezer contact information when this video is posted. Do look at our interactive map. We do keep that right up to date with any orders and alerts. We pulled data from BC Wildfire Service as well, and as well as local municipalities and First Nations on their evacuation alerts can often be viewed there as well. For the most up-to-date information for your community, if you are not a TNRD resident, please reach out to whatever town, village, or First Nation you are associated with. They will have the most up-to-date information for you, as the TNRD doesn't necessarily directly represent all of those communities, although we do work very closely with them. And I want to kind of leave it as a last to continue to check our website, social media, radio and news outlets, as well as that Voyant alert system. That's all we have for today. I do apologize. It was a brief meeting. Many of the individuals that we'd hoped to be here, unfortunately, we're quite busy with other matters at this time. So hopefully at our next meeting, we'll be able to get some of them on. Thank you all for attending.